In the next 15 minutes, we're going to run you through a framework for hiring your first head of sales that will excel for your company. But first, I would love to start with a story. So my name is Renu, head of sales at Greenhouse for EMEA. I've launched a number of sales teams in my career at different companies such as SAP, ServiceSource, LinkedIn, and now Greenhouse. But I'd like to take you back to a specific moment within my career. So for a moment, I'm just going to paint the picture. It's 2016. I've just started at LinkedIn, and I've been hired to hire and scale the DAC team. We were in hypergrowth at the time, so important to know. Now, my first mandate within the first 6 months was to hire 14 people on time. Of course, they all had to be German speakers, which was not easy given the limited talent pool that we had in Dublin, Ireland. I was also very interested, and it was highly important for me to have a team with a very diverse background. I'd also inherited a team that, wasn't doing too well when it came to results, and we didn't have really such a great talent brand. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I don't actually speak a word of German either, so that's a tough one. Now, of course, with all of that, there was a lot of skepticism when I started from my team as to whether I could actually pull this off. Now, really happy to say that fast forward 1 year, I had won the Hiring Manager of the Year for EMEA. I had gotten the entire team in place, high-performing team, on time, all German speakers, and all with diverse backgrounds.
I love that story. In a moment, we're going to talk about Renu's secret sauce to hiring well. I'm Jill Macri. I am co-founder of Growth by Design Talent, and our company has helped hundreds of founders scale their teams, and we have seen what goes well and what doesn't. So we'll talk to you about how to avoid the pitfalls. Renu and I are up here together because I was actually a very early customer of Greenhouse. I'm actually still a customer of Greenhouse. But prior to starting my own company, I led global recruiting for Airbnb, and I did that from when we were about 100 people till 4,000. And we used Greenhouse's philosophy of structured hiring to do it. So first off, I know everybody always wants the silver bullet to this topic. So what's the job description? What are the 3 key traits? What do we need to avoid in a sales leader? But let me ask you this. Are any of you the same leader? Probably not, right? Do you have the same product? I hope not. And you probably have a very different growth strategy than the person sitting next to you. And so there's not just one perfect sales leader. So we want to show you these 3 steps. Really, it's a process for getting the hire right. And in order to do this, we're going to take a specific example. We're going to go through a scenario, and then we'll talk to you afterwards about how you can adjust it for your company. So Renu, do you want to introduce the scenario?
Sure. So in this particular scenario, I may be in the position that some of you are in. Let's imagine I am the founder of a company. I've been doing a lot of the sales up until now. I have a very small AE team in seats. And so really, I'm looking for somebody to come in, manage that team, and scale that team.
Great. So we're going to get into these 3 crucial steps. And this is something, really clarifying what you need in a hire is something a lot of leaders never learn to do well. And it can really make the difference between an excellent hire and a mishire. It's kind of like building your product roadmap. First, you need to know what are the necessities in the product, then what are the qualifications, and then how are you going to prioritize? It's the same thing with finding the right hire. So we'll go through defining a success profile, we'll back into the qualifications, and then we'll prioritize. But first, we just want to do a little bit of clarifying on what we mean by qualifications. We look at these 3 buckets of qualifications. So experience, that's pretty straightforward. Those are career milestones. They're often things that you can see on someone's resume. What would be examples for sales?
So perhaps somebody that has managed a team or somebody that has hired a team.
Great, exactly. So then we have skills. This is really the what of what somebody does. So they're very specific abilities, and they can be learned on the job, they can be taught. What would it be for sales?
Negotiation skills, hiring again, for example.
Great, yeah, hiring skills, very important. And then competencies. So competencies are this broader bucket, right? They're really the how of getting things done. And they cut across somebody's entire body of work, and they often transfer with someone as they go to role. And competencies can be harder to train and upskill on. What would you think of as competencies?
So maybe something like collaborative, or are they a self-starter? For a sales leader, can they actually drive results?
Yeah. So I just want you to take a moment and think, in terms of the success you've had in your career, and everyone who's in this room, by definition, you've had some measure of success to be here. When you think about your success, do you attribute it to one experience you had or a skill that you have, or is it really more about the competencies that you possess that cut across your work? Generally, we find that high performers are strong in certain competencies. Like, I know that my superpower through my whole career has just been the ability to navigate in ambiguity, and that's been really key to being successful in a startup environment. Not to spring it on you, but what's yours?
Superpower. I would say probably coaching and mentoring.
I love that. I think your team would say that too. And why is it important to bucket out the qualifications in this way? It's really important because we often see that founders will use experience as a proxy for the other two, right? And then they don't effectively define or test skills and competencies in an interview process. And that most often results in a mishire. And then the second reason is that from a diversity perspective, if you can really focus on transferable skills and competencies, you can open the aperture on the type of experience you're looking for, and you actually can get a higher quality talent pool and a more diverse talent pool as well. Okay, let's get to the success profile. These are the 3 questions that we ask when we're defining a success profile. And I just want to point out that this is great for roles that you don't know really well. So you might be a founder of a company. You might not know sales very in depth. You might not know all the qualifications you need in a sales leader, but you probably do know the outcomes you want them to drive, right? You know the objectives. So let's start with those and back into qualifications. All right, so we're gonna go back to the scenario. If you all remember, Renu is the founder of a company that has high volume, transactional sale, a couple of AEs. So Renu, let's define the success profile. I'll ask you a couple of questions here. What do you want this person to accomplish in year 1 on the job?
Well, being a sales leader, obviously, we want to ensure that they're achieving their revenue goals. That's top of mind.
Okay.
But of course, to be able to do that, they need to have a winning team in place. And I would also expect that by year 1, they're in a position to be executing on their sales strategy.
Okay. Great. And then when you think about exceeding expectations in 90 days, what would you add to that list?
Yeah, maybe as a first example would be that they have actually observed, listened, and understood the business, understood our customers. I would also expect that they'd have maybe their first draft of their strategy in place at that point.
Okay, those are great examples. And I just want to point out why we do this exceeding expectations in 90 days. We often find that these are the things that will differentiate a good hire from an excellent hire. Okay, so using that success profile, and it's a little bit abbreviated, we just want to give you a snapshot today to work off of. What would you say they would need from an experience perspective to achieve those things?
Yeah, so sales skills would definitely be important. I wouldn't, however, just put, let's say, 5 years of experience. I want to be a lot more specific about what I'm looking for. So in this particular case, as Jill said, let's imagine in this scenario, strategy is very much transactional volume sales. I want to make sure that that experience is relevant to that. So it may actually be better to be hiring somebody with only 1 year of volume sales experience versus somebody that has, 10 years of large enterprise sales, for example.
That's great. I love the specificity. It's so important. And then when you think about skills and competencies that ladder up to that success profile, what comes to mind?
Yeah, so we've talked about a strategy. Any sales leader needs a strategy that's long-term to be successful. And I tend to think about that strategy in 4 pillars. So we have talent, process, driving results, and relationships. So just to touch on a couple of examples, we've talked a lot about talent. In this case, this leader will be hiring very, very heavily in their first year. So I want to make sure that they have, the ability to be able to scale a team during that time. Let's say by 90 days, we all know that relationships are absolutely key. So I will be looking to see if they're actually collaborative. Can they communicate well, both externally and internally?
Great. Okay, so we're going to take this snapshot and we'll move to the next step, which is prioritization. Prioritization is both really hard and really important. There's a couple reasons why, but one of the things that I observed as we scaled the team at Airbnb is that optimizing for the most important qualifications got us the best talent. There's kind of a regression to the mean that happens if you're trying to check the box on all the experience that you're looking for and all of the skills and all of the qualifications. Really what you want is somebody who spikes in the most important things. And then the second thing, and I get really excited about this, is that prioritization is really the key to operational efficiency in your hiring process. It doesn't sound sexy, but it will save you so much time scaling your company. The key is that every single step in the interview process needs to map clearly to one or more of these qualifications, right? And you want to be testing for the most important things first. That will save you a ton of time. So Renu, tell us a little bit about your ranking here.
Yeah. So, I mean, of course, if it was my hire, I would want it all of it. But, you know, to Jill's point, prioritization is absolutely key here. For me, it's probably the most important step in the process. So in this particular case, I decided that ability to scale a quality team and then coach and mentor that team should be top of mind. And then when it comes to competencies, I'd say a demonstrated growth mindset is key here. I would actually give up most of the other parts. You know, they don't even need to have experience within the industry because I will have quite a lot of time to invest in this person's ramp so I can help them with the rest. So demonstrated growth mindset would be my thing there.
Great. It's good job making the trade-offs. I know that's hard. Okay, so we've done a lot in the past just 12 minutes, right? We've gotten a lot of clarity on this role for Renu's company. And as we pointed out before, what you might need in a sales leader might be very different than what Renu needs. But the good news is that you can use these 3 steps and this process to get super clear on what it is that you need for your company to get the best hire for you. As you walked in, you may have gotten an ebook, or if you didn't get one, you can get it on the way out. They're also available at the Greenhouse booth, and this walks you through all the steps in the process and additionally also how to run an effective interview process as well.
Well, we've come to a close. Thank you all so much for your time. We would actually love to connect with you, so we will be hanging around outside for any questions, any chats that you may have for us. So thank you very much.
And we're also hosting the pub, so we'll see you there.
Yeah.